Hello friends, welcome to this video. My name is Brad Taves and this is my first episode. I'm starting a video cast and it is going to be launched today. So this is episode number 1 and the title of this talk is called Freedom From. I've just really been on an amazing journey these last couple of years and growing and stretching and redefining and questioning perhaps what I thought to be true in the past, and just feel this kind of metamorphosis kind of going on. And part of this change for me has been understanding what I'm about. And this word freedom seems to really be something that I'm gravitated towards, and it comes up over and over again. I love the idea of it, and oftentimes we don't really know what that means. Freedom is a loaded word, depending on perhaps where you live in the world, and depending on your background and how you define certain things. I heard of something recently that I'm going to stagger this over a couple of different videos, and the concept is that we are free from certain things, and we have freedom for certain things, and we have freedom in particular situations in the present moment. So today I'm going to focus on the idea of asking the question, what are we free from? What are we able to release ourselves that are tying us back to the past, things that have been created, the things that we have participated in creating, the things that have been handed down to us, and understanding really clearly what those things are. When we raise our conscious awareness about what it is that we are releasing ourselves from, then that act alone allows us to release ourselves from it. As long as it stays in the dark and remains cloudy and ambiguous, we don't really know what it is that we're free from. We like the word freedom. Freedom gets tossed around a lot. We say it. We want it. We see it in movies. We see it in books. We see it in music. But we don't know, if we don't know exactly what we're free from, then we can't fully live free. So today I want to talk about this idea of freedom from. The first thing I want to talk about is the movie Shawshank Redemption. This is by far my favorite movie of all times. I saw this when I was a teenager, saw it multiple times growing up. It was on TV a lot. I remember it just showed up on channels. And even to this day, I watch it regularly, once or twice a year, because I just love the characters and the theme. But I particularly want to talk about one scene in particular. So you've got the two main actors, Tim Robbins, who his character name is Andy Deshane, and Morgan Freeman, his name is Red. So if you know the movie, Andy Deshane is the one who ends up escaping the prison. Morgan Freeman, Red, he's the guy who has been a long time part of the prison. He kind of knows how to get things done. But anyway, so Andy Deshane is a visionary. He's someone who is casting vision for himself and for other people. And the one scene is that he just gets a collection of records and books. He's been asking it for quite a few years. And he's pretty pumped about this content that has come in. And he pulls out this album of this beautiful operatic song. It's a duet, this beautiful song that's being played. He pulls it out and he starts to play it on the record player. And he's just enjoying the freedom of what's happening in that moment and this expression. And he gets up and he locks all the doors around him because he knows that he's going to be chastised for what he's about to do. And then he goes on and he turns the knob, he grabs the microphone, turns the knob on to the PA system so that all the inmates in Shawshank can hear this beautiful music. So then Red, he's the narrative in the movie, so you hear him in the background. So I want to share what he says as this music is being played. So here, this is Morgan Freeman's voice, right? Who's this like iconic actor of all time. So he says, I had no idea to this day what those two Italian ladies were singing about. Truth is, I don't want to know. Some things are best left unsaid. I'd like to think they were singing about something so beautiful it can't be expressed in words and makes your heart ache because of it. I tell you, those voices soared higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man in Shawshank felt free. Some really great nuggets in there I want to pull out. The first one is that the music was beautiful, and yet Andy Deshane knew that he had to protect himself from other people who didn't agree with him. Whenever you share your voice, whenever you start to step out and you start to shine in your brilliance and your light, you're going to have people who are going to not like that. It's going to threaten their own security, their own identity, their own ego, and you need to guard yourself from that. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that we all were supportive of each other, and when someone rose, we cheered them on and we loved on them. But the reality is that we all do this, and we all get envious and we attack other people, and we're not always super pumped that other people are succeeding. So that's the first thing, is that if you want to explore freedom, if you want to succeed, if you want to grow and develop, you're going to have people who are not going to like it. And you might even be rebuked for it. You might even have some consequences because of those people. They may kick you out of their tribe. You might leave the tribe. They might say some negative things about you just to make you feel bad. So that's the first point in that, and you see that in the movie. The other point is that he grabs this beautiful song, this beautiful record, and he starts to play it, and it starts to liberate himself. You can see it in his posture. He kind of sits back with his arms behind his head, and you can just tell that he's so thoroughly enjoying this moment. And then the beautiful thing is he grabs that microphone and he plays it for all the inmates in Shawshank. And as Morgan says there, so I tell you, those voices soared higher and further than anybody dared to dream. It was like some bird flapped into a drab little cage and made those walls dissolve. And that's what someone who is an advocate for not only their own freedom, but for other people, to remind them what they are free from. Because we will often kind of live in this place where we've succumbed to a certain reality that is far less than what we had hoped for, perhaps growing up. All of us have come into this world the same way, right? We're naked, we're dependent upon other people, but we come into this world fairly pure, right? From a physical standpoint to our spirituality, our sense of being, our mental state. And although we grow and develop into mature adults and we function and we create stuff, we can lose what we had in the beginning. And then, and I read this recently somewhere, I find my notes here, is that one of the worst, most tragic days of all is when we prefer slavery to freedom. So now we have lived life to a certain amount of days on this planet, and we live in a certain way that is actually slavery to something. We are enslaved, and we have now preferred that over freedom because the cost of freedom is too high, right? So if our tribe, if our group of people are going to be threatened by our pursuit of freedom and walking in that, then let's just play it small. Let's not want freedom, because although I desire it, I think it's safer just to be enslaved because I don't want to rock the boat. When it comes to this idea of freedom too, there are certain things that we have imposed upon ourselves, and there are certain things that other people have imposed upon us. We are enslaved to our own decisions, to our own way of being. Some of those things have been handed down to us. Perhaps not all of us, right? All of us have grown up in situations where we didn't have a say in the matter. It was just the house that we grew up in, or the country, or the city, or the environment, or the church, or the religion that we grew up in, or whatever it is. We are the product of someone else's ideas of how things should be, and so then we end up thinking like that. So then we are enslaved to what has been given to us as well as what we have created ourselves. And again, the most tragic day is when we actually believe that that's better than walking in pure freedom, walking in the lightness and a freedom that was bestowed to us, that was given to us at our birth. Because I believe to the core of my being that it is our divine inheritance for us to be free, to live lightly, to enjoy life, to have pleasure. And if those freedoms are taken away, if some of those freedoms are taken away, we still have the freedom of choice. I love this book, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And I want to just read like one little chunk from this book. So he was a Holocaust survivor. He was a psychologist before being in that concentration camp, and he survived. And he was really curious as to why people could survive that atrocious catastrophe and evilness, and not only survive but also thrive after that. And then also, why did people succumb? Why did people die in that situation? Now, physically, perhaps they because they were abused so much, that was part of it. But maybe why did they die internally, which could have led to their physical death? And here's what his sort of final conclusion as to this whole experience, or one of them. He said that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, or a woman but one thing. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Whenever we talk about freedom, I often have this thought in my mind that says, yeah, but what about a situation where you are in prison, you're in a Holocaust situation, or you live in a country where you've lost your freedom of speech and you can't go out at night and you can only live in this spot, or like a limit of choices. Well, are you really free? The freedom is just for the West. I would disagree with that. Now, in the West here, so I live in Canada, and in this Western world, we have freedom. We have lots of freedom externally. We live in this country where we can go about and do as we please for the most part. If I don't like where I live, I move somewhere else. If I don't like this restaurant, I go to this restaurant. If I don't like this education, I go over here. If I don't like this church, I go to that church. The list goes on and on. We have the power to change our environment and mix it up, right? Even if we're bored, we have the freedom to change it. But what happens when all that's stripped away and you are literally in a prison? You literally are oppressed by someone who has the boot on your neck and you are a slave to them. What then? Are you free then? And yes, you are. As he goes on later on the same page, he says, fundamentally, therefore, any man or woman can, even under such circumstances, which he survived, can decide what shall become of him, mentally and spiritually. What shall become of him? I love that line. What shall become of you? That is the freedom we're talking about here. So although there is a sense of external freedom of what's going on the outside, internally, what does that look like? Are you free there? Because I'm going to give you a list of things that I wrote down. So here are the things, and I want to be a reminder to you today. I want you to think, to feel what it means to be free. Because this is not just a cognitive thing, although we can start there. But really, like Morgan Freeman said, is that every last man felt free in Shawshank. Freedom is something that you experience. It's something that you feel deep inside. It wells up inside of you. It aches. It's the longing, knowing that perhaps where you are has been slavery, but you haven't known it up until now. And then you realize, wow, this isn't good. I prefer it to be differently. And then you make choices to make it differently. So what can you be free from today? What are some things that you can bring to conscious awareness of? What am I going to choose, right? Like Viktor Frankl was talking about, that I can choose to be free from? Is it old patterns of thinking? The way that you used to think, extremely negative and pessimistic and doubtful and anxious. Can you be free from that? Can you be free from yourself? Be free from your ego that would want to live a certain way. Your ego and mine is deeply sophisticated, very mature. It has a way of protecting itself. But how do you be free from that? How do you let go of it? And we'll talk about that more in future videos. Free of judgment, right? Free from the judgment of others on you and the freedom of judgment that you place on others. The freedom of accusation, words that have been spoken over you that are hurtful, that are malice, that are full of envy. Doesn't always maybe sound like it, or you wouldn't always label like that, but if you were to peel it back, it would actually be that. And the last one, which is probably the biggest one for me, is freedom from the opinion of others. Because if you live your life with the belief that what other people think about you is more valuable than what you think about yourself, you will never be free. You will always live in a prison. You have thrown away the keys. You don't want to get out of that prison because other people have told you this is who you are, this is what you're capable of, and we're going to label you as such, and I'm now going to think that for myself. So freedom from the opinion of others. What you think about yourself is truly the most important opinion that you will have about who you are. So, my brothers and sisters, what can you be free from today? And the last thought I want to share with you is this. When you think of the word freedom, I want you to think of the tagline, free from. Okay, so freedom One definition can be, what are you free from? And we can all be free from it, and we can make the choice to be free from. Because again, I believe it is our birthright to be free, to live light, to live open, and to experience what life has been given to us. Take care, everyone. See you next time.